The desert sun was burning my skin the day I stepped off the transport plane, my uniform still carrying the dust of a war that had taken everything from me, except my life. I remember clutching the small silver locket around my neck, the one Ethan had given me the night before I deployed. Inside was a tiny photo of us, smiling like nothing could ever tear us apart. 3 years. 3 endless years of sand, gunfire, and letters that kept me breathing. His words were my oxygen. Come home to me, Mia. I'll be waiting. I love you more than life. I had dreamed of this moment every single night in that godforsaken place, running into his arms, feeling safe again, building the family we'd planned since we were 19. I could already see our little white house, the garden, the laughter of children who would never know what war felt like. The cab pulled up to our street and my heart was pounding so hard I thought it would break my ribs. I paid the driver with shaking hands, grabbed my duffel bag, and walked up the path I knew by heart. The porch light was on, even though it was only 4 in the afternoon. That should have been my first clue. I didn't knock. This was my home, too. I turned the key, the same key he'd mailed me when I left, and pushed the door open. The smell hit me first. Vanilla and something floral. My favorite candle mixed with a perfume I didn't recognize. Then I heard it. A woman's laugh. Soft. Intimate. Coming from our bedroom. My boots felt like lead as I walked down the hallway. Every step echoed like a gunshot in my head. The door was cracked open, just enough. There he was, my Ethan, the man who'd written me love letters covered in tears and promises, naked, tangled in our sheets with a woman I'd never seen before. Her manicured hand was tracing the scar on his chest, the scar I'd kissed 1,000 times in my mind while I was bleeding in a medic tent. He hadn't even heard me come in. I stood frozen in the doorway, the locket burning against my skin like it was made of fire. My entire world collapsed in a single heartbeat. Ethan turned his head. His eyes met mine. And in that moment, something inside me died, but something else was born. Mia! His voice cracked. He scrambled for the sheet, knocking over the bedside lamp. The woman, blonde, young, terrified, pulled the blanket to her chest and whispered, "Who is that?" I couldn't speak. My throat was full of sand again. All I could do was stare at the man I'd carried in my heart through 3 tours, through bombs and death and loneliness. He stumbled toward me, hands out like I was a wounded animal. "Baby, please, this isn't—" "Don't," I finally croaked. My voice sounded foreign, broken glass. "Don't you dare call me baby." I turned and walked out. I don't remember getting in my truck. I don't remember driving. I just remember the tears so thick I could barely see the road, and the scream that finally tore out of me when I reached the base gate. For weeks, I was a ghost. I slept in the barracks even though I was on leave. I stopped eating. My friends from the unit tried to help. But how do you fix a heart that's been blown apart, worse than any IED? Then came the real knife. I went back one last time to get my things. He was at work, or so I thought. I found the letters, hundreds of them. My letters, the ones I'd poured my soul into from the other side of the world. They were in a box, under the bed, with a note in his handwriting on top, for when I need to feel something again. He'd been reading them to her, using my pain, my fear, my love to seduce someone else. That was the moment I stopped crying. That was the moment I started planning. Because soldiers don't just survive war, we learn how to destroy. And Ethan, he was about to discover What happens when you betray a woman who's already stared death in the face and walked away? 6 months. That's how long it took. I moved into a small apartment off base. I smiled when people asked how I was. I went to therapy. I let everyone, including Ethan, believe I was healing. He tried to reach out. Flowers, voicemails that made me sick. I made a mistake, Mia. She meant nothing. You're my soulmate. I saved every message. I befriended her, the other woman. Her name was Lauren, 24. Worked at the same firm as Ethan. Thought she was in love. I met her for coffee one day, eyes red from crying over him, and told her I forgave her, that I just wanted to understand. She told me everything. How he'd cried to her about his wife who didn't understand him anymore. How he'd proposed to her 2 weeks after I came home, with the ring he'd bought me for years ago. I recorded it all. Then I waited for the perfect moment. His promotion party. The entire company was there. His parents, his boss, everyone who mattered. I walked in wearing the dress I'd worn the night he proposed to me, the one still hanging in our closet like a ghost. Heads turned. Ethan went white. I smiled, walked straight to the microphone they'd set up for speeches, and pressed play. Every voicemail, every text, Lauren's confession, photos I'd taken of the letters, my deployment journal entries he'd shared with her, entries about almost dying, about begging God to let me come home to him. The room was silent. His mother was sobbing. His father wouldn't look at him. Lauren ran out crying. And Ethan? He just stood there, destroyed, as everything he'd built turned to ash around him. He lost the promotion, lost his job, lost his friends. Last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment, working night shift at a gas station. I never raised my voice, never threatened, never broke a single law. I just gave the world the truth. Some battles aren't fought with weapons. Some wars are won with silence and perfect timing. Today, I still wear the locket, but now it holds a different photo. Just me, standing tall in my dress blues, metals shining, eyes clear. I learned something in the desert that Ethan never understood. Love can break you, but betrayal forges you into something unbreakable. And if you ever come home from hell itself, never forget who kept the fire burning while you were gone. Because one day, you might need that fire to burn their entire world down. Stay strong, sisters. Never let them think your heart is weak just because it loved fiercely. Because the same heart that heart loves, it can learn to protect itself forever.